Ladies and gentlemen, it's nearly 30 degrees here in the UK, and it's nearly 30 degrees here in the studio as we welcome back the hottest panel, the hottest rock show. It's MPJ Rock Album Reviews with my sensational, sizzling panel in Dave, Trish, and Dom.
Hello.
So it's the Rock Album Review, and we are going to mash up two albums here. But before we do, please like and subscribe our channel. Get us up to no, not 10,000, not 20,000, not 30,000, not even 100,000. 100 will do. 100 will do. And you know, and we will be happy as Larry. And then until we start drumming on about 200. But in the meantime, what have we got on today's show? Well, we've got two albums, Savage Grace and Sign of the Cross, and they will be up against Haunt and Golden Arm. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to review them. We're going to match them up. We're going to give them ratings out of 5. We're going to decide which one of our hard-earned £20 will go on the vinyl or CD. And then, well, as I say, and then if out of that rating of 5 they get more than 20, they could get into our Hall of Fame. And there's not many. It's an exclusive club. It's about, well, this will be somewhere in about 220th odd album review. And in fact, I'll tell you exactly what it'd be. It'd be 220 at the end of this show. 220 album reviews. And only about 20 albums have made that Hall of Fame. So, it's precious. It's precious. Right, without further ado, who have we got here today? Well, we've got Savage Grace and their album Sign of the Cross. Who are they? So they're an American power and speed metal band formed in Los Angeles in 1991 by Chris Logue and Brian East, nicknamed The Beast, from Pacific Northwest band Alley Brat. Initially active in 91 to 93, they reformed in 2009 and subsequently released an EP called The Lost Grace in 2010. They performed Up the Hammers, Bang Your Head and Keep It True festivals. The original name was Marquis de Sade, named after the French aristocrat of the same name. They would later change their name to Savage Grace after the 70s rock band led by Ron Goss, and that were on a Warner Rapise Records. Their first demos were recorded by Ozzy Osbourne, etc. In 2010, Chris Logue reformed the band with musicians German band Rox Caliber and played a European tour in April and May in addition to festivals. The band split up in 2010. Well done, Chris. That lasted very long. And the whole Savage Grace back catalogue was released by the German record label. So the new lineup decided to bring new vocalists and release already finished songs in late 2013 and the moniker Masters of Disguise. And then on February 23, it was announced the band would release their third album, Sign of the Cross, which is where we are today. So, Ian, then, let's start with you. Savage Grace. Was it savage? Was it graceful? Bit like you? Talk to me.
I am indeed graceful. But not at the moment. You are going to hear some things come out of my mouth that you've not heard before. So, Savage Grace, this album should be called Sign That I'm Cross. The title track, the intro, is a soundbite that goes on and on and on. And there's nothing wrong with using soundbite. We've heard it in the last few reviews, but it doesn't matter when it goes on as long as it does, because I've just lost interest, full stop. But obviously, we listened to the album. I listened to it once, and I will not be listening to it again. Screeching vocals, where it actually makes use of the voice clips, the best sound on the album. But for me, the thing that really absolutely annoyed me. Annoyed doesn't even begin to describe it. It was disgusting. I'm a massive fan of Six the Musical, and that talks about the 6 wives of Henry VIII, but ignores Henry VIII and the powerful women that those 6 women were. When you have an album that is akin to Tommy Lee's Motley Crue antics back in the 80s and 90s, went to see Motley Crue at Bramall Lane last month, and he stands up and he says, "Come on, where's all the titties? Let's compare cocks." And it's like that just didn't have a place in the 80s and 90s, but that's where it was and doesn't have a place now. And this, no wonder they're from Los Angeles, Helsinki Nights, with the lyric talking about girls they want to meet, young, sweet and tight, is quite frankly disgusting, out of place, and just is a massive switch off for me. I think it's just absolutely wrong. And I just didn't want to say anything else about the album at all. It was, disgusting.
Wow. Dave, were you disgusted?
This album is absolutely fucking awful. It really, really is. It should never have been released. Whoever produced this album needs to be taken out back and given a good kicking. The vocals, at first I thought, okay, we've got another Bruce Dickinson clone, and then he kind of goes a bit sort of Axl Rose towards the end, and he's got about a 16th of the talent of either of them. The guitar player is playing far beyond his ability level. There was actually times when he managed to sound out of time with himself. How he managed that, I'll never know. Absolutely awful. The solos were just terrible on some of the tracks, to the point that I was physically cringing listening to it, and that's never how you should be when you're listening to music. This Dom said it with one of the previous albums that, the master tape should be burned, and this should have never been put down on tape in the first place. Absolutely criminal.
Yeah.
Wowzers. Trish.
Hello.
Hello.
I think maybe I'm being a bit generous in mine, or maybe I would listen to something different. I don't know. As soon as the album starts with the opening track, Barbarians at the Gate, you're hit with metal in the vein of Metallica, really heavy, which, as we know, in my youth, I found that kind of rock a bit too heavy for my ears. And it was the same for the first two tracks. Then came the haunting start to the title track of the album, Sign of the Cross, building the tension with each chord as the guitar played. And I was expecting to be taken on a different path music-wise, but I wasn't. I was taken back to the sounds of tracks 1 and 2. But this is clearly their sound. Unfortunately, it didn't bring me anything that I thought wow and engaged me. But all in all, if you like Metallica, Iron Maiden, that really heavy kind of rock, then I'm sure you will enjoy Savage Grace.
Dom, can you come to the rescue here of Sign of the Cross? Can you find anything redeeming here at all?
Nothing at all. If Trish, you said if you like Metallica, you like this. If you like Metallica, you would hate this even more than if you've never heard Metallica, because it is another. It's almost like a piss take of that genre, is the way I feel. And like Dave was saying, it's like playing way beyond their talent. So they're kind of trying to find speed metal, thrash, or something like that, but not getting the timing right. The songs are just awful. Ian, you're absolutely right. It's just a kind of almost a Mickey take in a way, except it isn't. But then you've got thrash metal, and the song goes on for 5, nearly 6 minutes. That's like that's not how thrash metal works. So yeah, it was It was terrible. It was really, really bad. I looked them up, and they've had 18 previous band members. So they're obviously struggling for a sound and an identity that they've never actually had. So, yeah, this was bad. Sorry.
Wow. Well, I'm amazed, because this is probably my album of the year. Genuinely. No, I'm joking. It's definitely not my album of the year. It's one of those albums where I just listened to it once and thought it was okay. I mean, I didn't listen to it again enough time to maybe garner those sort of lyrics. And you're right, it really doesn't probably have a place in kind of modern music. And if you saw the film about Motley Crue. You can see sort of the antics that they kind of got up there, and that's what they're known for. And that shock value was very much. You can't put text up in the middle of my talking because everybody can see it. I mean, come on, woman. You can't put text up to say, I don't think I'm going to invite Savage Grace to an interview. What do you like?
Do you know what? Actually, as that's come up, I was going to type a message back and then realise, actually, okay, now it's there. Was, as you know, still invite them because I would love to have a conversation about them with that and see what their thoughts are.
You could, on behalf of MGP, have your own solo interview with them. But there we go.
Yeah, happy to. I would. I'm happy to talk to people about good things as well as bad, because it'd be interesting to hear what their reaction is to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was just okay. I didn't get into in depth in terms of the musicality of it. I think I listened to it once. I don't think I would listen to it again. It was just okay. There were some good bits in there. There were some highlights in there. I don't think instrumentally it was as bad as you're making out. But as I say, I'm not a guitarist, so I potentially would have picked up on those sorts of things as well. So, poor Savage Grace getting a right old savaging, maybe they've been put on a cross. There we go. Right, Haunt, Golden Arm. Who are they? Haunt, an American heavy metal man from Fresno, California. Never heard of it. Fresno, California. The band was originally created by a solo project by Trevor William Church, and as such, he technically originally the only original member of the group. Well done, mate. Church is also the solo songwriter and lyricist of the group. Haunt was originally formed by Trevor as a musical project to be worked alongside existing band Beastmaker. The project was taken on to a new traditional metal sound as opposed to Beastmaker's doom metal style. In 2017, Church wrote and recorded Haunt's debut release, an extended play Luminous Eyes, with Daniel Wilson playing the drums for recording. It was first released digitally as an independent release, but later received physical releases from the Shadow Kingdom record label. Haunt, Golden Arm. Right, well, Dave, let's start with you then.
First listen, I really enjoyed this, but I mean, I did listen to it straight after listening to the previous album, so it sounded like fucking Mozart compared to that. But to be honest with you, as the album goes on, it does get really samey. Some good moments, particularly like Fight the Good Fight and Hit and Run. Would have liked to have seen them mix it up a bit, but I mean, it is what it is. It's a solid rock album, nothing more, nothing less, really.
Trish, then, do you want to just type in your chat there for me, or?
I'd apologise.
Doesn't stop me taking a mickey.
Yeah. Okay. There's no denying this album is packed full of hooks, riffs, and screaming solos. It's a whirlwind of an album that for sure, with tracks like Fight the Good Fight, which engage my music likes of all on this album. At first, I wasn't sure on this album is it is a bit heavier than my normal listen, but on each listen, it grew more on me, and I could see influences of 80s heavy metal guitarists, which I enjoyed. Musically, I enjoyed this album, but lyrically, it was lost to me, as I couldn't hear clearly the vocals, straight the lyrics of the songs, so I couldn't tell you what the album was about, which was a shame. That being said, musically, for me, a good, solid rock album.
Dom.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was good. It was pretty solid. They're amazingly prolific. They've only been together for like 5 or 6 years, and this is like their 9th album or something like that. So they've been banging out tunes like you wouldn't believe.
Not according to my wiki, they haven't. But
have they not?
No.
Yeah, that's where I looked it up. Well, that's what I thought. This is pretty. It's got some. It's on the heavier side. It doesn't waste any time at all either, is it? There's no flab in there really. It's a nice tight album. Bit slow maybe in parts, but there's lots of energy and conviction, all that kind of stuff that you want from good rock. I'd say. Not essential. That's how I'd finish off. Not essential, but a good listen.
Ian.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. It is a solid rock album. Absolutely, it's very stereotypical, but it's enjoyable at the same time. It's not like you hear it and think, "Oh, I've heard this 1,000 times before. I'm not interested." It's like it's familiar, and that gives it its strength. I also think it's a masterclass in how to do a voice clip intro. With I think was it the first track? I can't remember. I think it's a voice clip intro in one of the tracks, and it's got the most awesome guitar riff building slowly behind that clip. That's how you do a clip intro, 100%. And I really enjoyed that. I didn't think there was anything new on the album there, but absolutely, I found the album enjoyable. Straight down the middle for me, this one. I think solid rock album and enjoyable.
I can't. It's kind of fascinating. Somebody said to me, everybody's telling me they hear something, but my head is telling me something different. I didn't find this in particularly much different to Savage Grace in its heaviness and its play. There wasn't, for me, it was pretty much, I felt actually that's quite a good matchup because they're very, very similar album. Obviously lyrically they're obviously a bit different, and I found this with a little bit more variation maybe, but certainly and it's really funny that because you mentioned about Beastmaster, the Doom style, this was more edging towards that Doom kind of metal in terms of its heaviness and its and that kind of play as well. But again, it was just none of the tracks really made my cool playlist. There was nothing really stand out there. Yes, it was solid. Yes, it was okay. It was enjoyable. But I've listened to like 16 albums this month, brand new albums, and it's like, for me, it was just okay. It was just a really solidly good, okay rock album. Not quite really my cup of tea, going towards that Doom style. It was a bit too, because we mentioned in another review about how metal, some of the heavy metal's gone more towards bassy stuff, and we talked about, recent bands that we've, Black Orchid Empire, which did really well for us, was one of our reviews, and White Raven Down and people like that, which is more that bassy style, and that was more this up there, and it was more that Doom style. It was just okay. It was just a solid, a bit like Savage Grace. It was just a solidly good rock album that didn't really stand out for me because it went more towards a style that wasn't quite my cup of tea. But I appreciated it, and it was solid. So there we go. Right.
I think the matchup was right. I think the matchup was a good matchup. It's also a great example of when you get it absolutely right and absolutely wrong.
I didn't hear any different, but there we go. Right, okay. Let's start with you then, Ian. Savage. I've already written your score down, but we'll hear it from you anyway.
If it's allowed, I'll have a -5 for this one.
You can't have a -5, but you can have a zero, which I put down for a 0. Followed very quickly by another one. Dave.
Yep, big fat 0. All of the zeros, in fact.
Okay,
Yep.
Trish.
1.5.
Oh, I thought that was going to be a bit higher there. Okay, and Dom.
Big 0.
Big 0. I don't think it was that bad. I give it a 3. I was just middle of the road, solidly good rock album. It was just, I didn't think it was that bad. But we've heard some bad albums. But at 4.5. I think that's down there with Arctic Monkeys' new album from last year in terms of probably the worst album that we've listened to. So yeah, Trish, please don't invite Savage Grace to an interview. Right, okay. Let's go then with Haunt and Golden Arm. Ian.
2.5. Solid down the middle.
Dave.
3.
Trish.
3.
And Dom.
3.
Well, at least I'm on par with you on this one. Another 3. So we're pretty much gone from like totally just, well, anyway, there we go. 3, 6, 9, 11 and a half. So solidly, 369. No, sorry, my apologies. 40 and a half. Of course it is. I mean, it was above average. So it had to be above average, didn't it? So there we go. So pretty solid score, and by an absolute country mile, Haunt and Golden Arm wins this mashup by. I would have gone with Haunt. Clearly on that score, I'd already had him ticked down as well. Wow. Okay. Right. Well, listen. You don't get the smooth without the rough. You don't get the diamonds without that piece of coal. And boy, oh boy, please like and subscribe our channel. Check out our content. There are some amazing albums out there. Thank you very much to my wonderful crew. Thank you to Trish, to Dom, to Ian, and to Dave, the legend. Everybody, keep on rocking out there. Please get us to that 100 by the end of summer. To like and subscribe our channel. Please share on Facebook. You'll be amazing. Thank you very much for listening. And take care. Rock on out there, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye. Like and subscribe.